I've been reading a lot of relationship stories lately, and one thing keeps standing out to me. Most of these aren't really about cheating, they're about expectations that were never said out loud, boundaries that feel like control, and honesty that shows up at the wrong moment. So today's Reddit reads are about gay dating and relationships and what happens when intention, communication, and trust don't line up. Let's get into it. Okay, so all these are going to be Am I the Asshole, and the first story is titled, He Flew to Visit Me and Stayed on Grindr All Day. This is from the Ask Gay Bros subreddit. Am I the asshole for getting mad that the guy who flew out to visit me is spending all day on Grindr while I'm at work? I met this guy last September while on vacation in his country. We kept contact and he was very adamant about paying me a visit. He says cheesy romantic things all the time, and while I personally don't foresee a future with him, due to the distance between us, I'm trying to be open to any possibility. He arrived Sunday, and while we have plans to travel to the capital city together on Thursday, I'm still working until then. Not even a few hours go by yesterday until a local guy that I met for a coffee date once messages me on Instagram asking if I saw this new profile that popped up. Sure enough, it's the guy visiting me. I wasn't all that bothered by him being on Grindr, but my acquaintance tells me that this guy has been online all day, beginning with my departure to work. Today I get back on Grindr myself, and I checked it about once an hour. Sure enough, he's online constantly, only disappearing for about an hour at one point, and of course my mind jumps directly into him finding a hookup. I message him, ask if he found anything interesting. He tells me that nobody wanted to meet him for coffee. I tell him I find that strange. Why would he be looking for dates while visiting a guy he supposedly really likes? He says that he just wanted company. Again, this answer makes me even angrier, but at least he's honest, to my knowledge. Am I overreacting? Listen, if this was a friend, I would be fully supportive. But no, he came under romantic and sexual pretenses, and I just really don't find this type of behavior to instill trust. Am I being the stereotypical, overly dramatic gay asshole? I promise, there was never a discussion about what he would be doing in his free time. If anything, he assured me that he was coming to see me and only me. Okay, so let's dive into these comments and then I'll give my full take. Yes, I think you're overreacting. It's nice of you to host this guy for his visit, but you're at work. Leave him alone in a city where he apparently doesn't know anyone else. You already said you don't foresee a future with him, so I assume there's no presumption of exclusivity at this point. I don't see any reason to be angry at him or for being on Grindr. The OP responds, I'm not hosting him for his visit. Nowhere in my post did I say that. He's visiting me. What's so hard to understand about that? Sorry, but it seems you failed to read or you failed to properly grasp the context of the visit. They start arguing a little bit back and forth, but I do agree with the OP. It's like, I'm not just hosting him. It's not like it's a friend in town. Like, this is somebody I'm romantically interested in. Whether I foresee a future or not, I feel like the OP stated, like, you know, I'm open to any possibilities. I agree. If you are my boo thing and your cousin to visit me, I'm not thinking you're going to sleep with other people or hook up with other people while you're in my place. Which I actually have a story about that I'll end with after we go through these comments. Okay, so next one. I think you're overreacting a little since it seems like for several days he had a large amount of time alone in a new city without you. But if he wanted to have company while he was alone, there's better ways than Grindr to achieve that. OP responds, he knew he would be alone though. It's not like he came to visit me and I unceremoniously told him to fend for himself while I went to work. They kind of go back and forth again. And the guy says, looks like he did fend for himself. That said, I wouldn't have fought you for wanting to send him home. And then the guy says, right, so you agree. So that guy pretty much agrees. And then this one I probably felt the most agreement with. The last comment says, wow, these comments. Am I the only one understanding your frustration? These people are projecting their own fears of being alone. I mean, being alone is not hard at all, especially if you're looking forward to seeing this person you came to visit once they're off work. In fact, in a new city, I really appreciate the space and time to myself to explore. The city, not the other gays. You don't have to be together 24/7, especially if he's not staying with you. But yeah, him being on Grindr definitely tells you everything you need to know about his seriousness or commitment to you. Opie says, thank you. I know I'm coming across defensive in the comments, but it's because I feel like people responding purposely, being obtuse regarding the entire context of the situation. Thank you for validating that I'm not a complete psycho, in this regard at least. Also, to be clear, he was the one to bathe this trip in a romantic light. I even told him that I would understand if he wanted to see what's around on Grindr, but he assured me that he had no need for it. Cut to this, of course, I'm going to see him as a liar. Okay, so I agree with him. I 100% agree that if you come to visit me on some romantic sexual situation, we are seeing each other in a romantic, we're basically like together for the time you're on the trip. You're basically my man. That's how I would look at it. Like, you're not going to be on Grindr unless we're agreeing to do that together. You're not going to be hooking up with other people. Like, and like the other guy said, like, if I'm in a new city, I'm going to go to a coffee shop, go shopping. I'm going to go explore and do cute things while y'all at work. I'm not just going to sit in your apartment. You literally left a whole other country to come visit somebody, and you don't have the nature to just go out and explore and be an adult in a new city. Like, and I'm sure he probably lives, he didn't say, I'm assuming he probably lives in a major city. You're on Grindr like that, finding dudes and his friend, well, maybe he's in a small city. Either way, you can go do something. I'm from a small city, there's stuff to do. Even if you wanna go shopping, you wanna go to a coffee shop, you wanna go get lunch, there's things you can do to get out the house. If you just wanna go take a walk and look around and see what the vibes are, you can do that. So I definitely agree with the last commenter, and I definitely agree with the OP. I definitely think it's messy and shady, and honestly, it's just like, dang, you can't wait 8 hours before you trying to get into somebody else's pants while you come and visit me. It's not even like this is like day 3, and you know like you're bored of me now or whatever. You just set foot and you can't even, you know, get out of your pants for 8 hours. That's just lame to me. But my story is that when I was in New York, I met this dude when I was in Puerto Rico that lived in Atlanta. When I was on like a gay trip with my friends, met him in Puerto Rico. And funny thing was, y'all, he tried to come out, his whole friend group tried to come off DL when we saw them, and then all of them were thirsting over us when they saw us at the gay club later. I'll tell that story in more detail one day. But y'all, so he lives in Atlanta, I'm in New York. We get back to our places, we start communicating, and he's like, I wanna come see you, I wanna come see you, I wanna come to New York and see you. A lot of my friends live in New York, so I go up there all the time. So y'all, he came and stayed with me, and y'all, we had so many issues. I'm trying to make this quick. But y'all, he invited me to brunch. He's like, oh, my friend's hosting this brunch. You should come, whatever. We should do that on like Saturday. Y'all, we go to the brunch. Guess who's hosting the brunch? His ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend's buying me shots and drinks and stuff. So I'm not that mad at him, but it was just like, I didn't expect to have a whole debrief with your ex while you're here visiting me. And also, y'all, his friends were assholes. They were all quizzing me about what's his middle name, how do I know him, blah, 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 blah. And y'all, these are the people that I also saw in Puerto Rico. Y'all know how I met him. Like, let's stop the cap. That irritated me. Then he's like, oh, we need to go to this day party. And it was this day party at the Standard, which back then, y'all, gay parties at the Standard were lit. Like, the lines would be wrapped around the building, all beautiful gay men at the Standard Hotel, whatever. We get there, we're in line, and y'all, then he's like, hey, Jay, so my boy is the promoter for this, and he can get me in for free. So I'm gonna go get in for free, and I'm gonna leave you down here, and just, we find me upstairs. Y'all, I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, just find me upstairs. I'm gonna go get in for free, da 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 da. Y'all, I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So y'all, he dips. I'm like shooketh. So then y'all, I go talk to the guy, the guy that's like manning the line outside. I go up to him, I said, how much is it to get in this party? He told me $40. Y'all, I dipped out that line. I called my friend crying. It's like a whole thing. But all I had to say was, and this other thing that happened that weekend, but this dude really disrespected me in my house. You're staying with me, laying in my bed. This is where you lay in your head, and you have the nerve to disrespect me. So I feel this, OP. I feel everything he's saying. You're not gonna come to my city, stay in my house, and be on no mess. And yes, if I'm open to the freaky deaky and dealing with other people, that's one thing, but you're not gonna go do that. And you're pressing me to be romantic. You're pressing me to be on some romance boyfriend type energy. So that's my take on that one. Definitely, I clearly feel some type of way, but definitely agree with the OP. I definitely agree with his vibe. He's making a lot of sense. I don't agree that he should be hosting this guy and letting him do what he wants all willy-nilly. That's weird. I'm not about to have somebody in my space for that. He can get a hotel and do that. He can get a hotel and do that. Like, you can pay your own way and do all that, and we can just meet up when you want to meet up if your whole goal is to meet other guys. All right, on to the next story. Okay, so the next story is titled, Is This Cheating or Just Insecurity? From the Ask Gay Bros subreddit. Am I the asshole? So last night I went to a gay club for the first time with my partner. When we got there, I realized they didn't pay for parking, so I reminded him and he left to go do that. I was mildly drunk and I have a tendency to be very talkative, so I sparked a completely platonic conversation with the guy who was sitting next to me. Turns out this guy was really cool, and I have no gay friend, so I asked him for his social media because he seemed cool to hang out with. My partner walked in and saw it. I wasn't hiding the fact that I did it, and everything got twisted. When he walked in, I literally introduced him so the guy knew that I'm definitely not flirting with him, and I figured to be transparent with my partner. After the conversation, I gave a hug because we kicked it off so nicely. We left to go sit at a table, and he hounded on me saying, what the fuck was that? Your boundaries are way too loose. That was disrespectful, and I would never have done that to you. Do what to me? I would never restrict my partner from making friends. I don't own him, and he doesn't own me. I wouldn't even want to be in a relationship with anyone if I felt like I couldn't trust them to keep it cordial. Conversation with this guy was platonic. I immediately let my partner know who I was talking with. I think he wanted me to literally ask him permission to talk to other people. Am I wrong? I'll accept if so. Okay, so now onto the comments. First comment, everyone has opinions. The fast response is your boyfriend is insecure. But just ask yourself if the opposite occurred, how would you have reacted? I'm certainly not suggesting you did anything wrong. I'm only suggesting you be honest with yourself about how you would have felt if it came back and found your boyfriend talking to another guy while you were away. This has 23 upvotes. Next comment, insecure maybe or miscommunication jump to conclusion. Just communicate what you were doing and perhaps in the future let him know while he's around so it doesn't get heated for no reason. I wouldn't call him a knobhead though. People get insecure over anything and everything in relationships and all it takes is further communication and understanding on both sides. Last comment. So that last comment got 21 upvotes. Last one. Well, there are two sides to a story. It would be really revealing to know what your partner saw with his two eyes. Maybe your body language or overall vibes were the catalyst to your partner's irritation and disapproval. That got 9 upvotes. Okay, so I'm in the middle, I guess, opinion-wise, on all of this. I definitely do not think you own your partner or your partner owns you. I definitely think you can make friends, especially if you don't have a lot of gay friends. And honestly, at a gay club, that is a good place, a gay bar, that's a good place to meet other gay guys because they're gay, they're cool, blah, blah. So I'm cool with all that. My only issue is did you know his triggers were? I mean, you guys said this is your first time at a gay club, so maybe you guys haven't been together that long. But you did say that you get mildly drunk and have a tendency to be talkative. So I don't know, when you say talkative, does that mean flirty? Because why do we need that information? I mean, you're at a gay bar, you're drinking, people talk. So I'm just trying to understand, is there an energy you usually give off when you're doing this? But also, I think it's just the communication. Hey, when we're going out tonight, when I talk to other guys, it's really just going to be me trying to find other friends. I mean, you can preface that or say, when we go out to gay bars, that's a good place for me to meet other gay guys. So I don't want you to think I'm flirting with people, but, I do want to use it as an opportunity to meet other gay friends because I don't have a lot of gay friends and I want more gay friends. So I think there's a way you can preface it. And now that you know this information about him, maybe you didn't know this before, and now he gets really upset about that. And I just that communication is key. Now I think him screaming at you and all that was a bit much. I don't like people that act like that. You can calmly be like, what was that about? Were you flirting with him? I thought you can ask people questions in a more chill way. I'm not really with all the screaming and yelling at me, so that would have turned me off. And I agree with the person. I don't want you to feel like you own me. I can talk to whoever I want to talk to. And honestly, me talking to somebody while you go do parking or whatever doesn't mean I'm flirting with them. But also, one of the commenters said, what were you doing? Were you touching his shoulder? Were you doing things flirty to make him feel that way? Because there's a way people vibe when they're flirting and they're interested versus I'm just interested in a friend. But you were drunk or tipsy, so I'll give you that. So I'm torn. I think there's two different ways you can look at it. It also depends on how long they've been together. Do they know each other's triggers? Because I feel like at a certain point, what's going to trigger your boyfriend. What's going to make them upset. But honestly, me personally, I'm not really with the jealousy stuff. I don't care that much. If you're talking to somebody and I go pay for parking and you're kicking with somebody, I'm just going to be like, that's my man. I'm not really worried. Unless y'all kiss or make out or something, I'm not going to be putting too much into it because I just don't care that much. And I've dated people before. I haven't had that many long-term relationships, but y'all, I just don't have that knack for arguing and jealousy or putting too much into something until I have a reason to. Maybe the guy had a reason to, but unless you were tonguing this guy down or something, I don't see why he's cussing you out in public. That just seems a bit much. This could even be something y'all talk about on the car ride home or, the Uber home. You have a kiki about it. I do think he was overreacting. I do think you can communicate more now that you kind of know that more about him. Communicate, let him know. I also think you need to really consider if this is the type of energy you want. He does sound a little possessive and jealousy to me. And I just know I just wouldn't have to deal with that. I'm not about to keep explaining myself every time I talk to somebody or meet somebody. I just think that's a lot of explaining that I'm not going to do. So I guess just in this situation for the OP, I would just really be considering that because it's I'm just not going to want to deal with that all the time. Because we could be at a Pilates class, we could be working out in the gym and I'll talk to somebody, ask them about their workout routine, and then you're going to start cussing at me because you think that I'm flirting with him. I don't have time for stuff like that. So that's my take, but I get why it's kind of both sides is getting decent comments because I get both sides of it. Okay, so the next story is called When Wanting Friends Gets Sexualized. This is from the Ask Gay Bros Over 30 subreddit. Okay, am I the asshole for trying to make friends? So I haven't had a real friend group in years, and I think it's my husband's fault. For context, we are in an open relationship as of a few months ago, but we have both been engaging in sex with others for the entirety of our 10+ year relationship. I can admit if a guy offers sex and I've been drinking, then it will probably happen. I know that's unhealthy, but I've accepted that that's who I am. The issue is that when I bring up wanting to join gay meetup groups like bowling or game night, my husband immediately says, "You're just trying to fuck." That really isn't my intention, but I know I can't 100% deny that it would happen. Other than my husband and my mom, I don't have any meaningful social interactions, and I think it's really fucking with me mentally. He always says, "Why do they have to be gay?" And my response is that we don't have kids, and straight people our age usually do, or they're loners. I just want normal people to hang around. I would love some advice. Okay, so let's get into these comments. This comment says, "Your problem isn't making friends. Seems like there are serious trust issues in your relationship. You've been open for a few months, but you've been having sex with others for most of the relationship." What? So you've been cheating? Also, the fact that you have no self-control with drinking or sex and have just accepted it is a huge red flag. I think you need to work on your relationship because there's serious issues there that aren't healthy for either of you. I agree with him on that too. I feel like there's some type of trust issue that's going on, and for your partner to get so upset about you trying to go to a meetup group and you guys are in an open relationship doesn't make sense to me, because if you guys are already in an open relationship, then you guys will already be okay with having sex with other people. So why is it an issue if you do join a game night or a gay bowling league or whatever, and you hook up with a guy? What's really the issue? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to understand, like, what's really the problem, if he's accepted that. So it sounds like maybe both of y'all don't really want to be in an open relationship. Okay, this is my assumption. There's not a bunch of updates in here from him. My assumption is that you wanted to be in an open relationship. He finally decided after these 10 long years, and you always be getting drunk, sleeping with people, and he probably feels like you joining a gay bowling league or something like that will just be an ongoing funnel of people for you to sleep with. Now, I'm not saying you can't join those leagues or whatever, and I'm not saying those leagues aren't, or those environments typically aren't sexless, but he clearly has some trust issue thing with you. And since you seem like you can't control your liquor and sex situation, it may be linked to that. It makes me wonder if this is more of a one-sided open relationship situation, y'all. And this is the thing that I've noticed all the time with gay relationships. And one reason why I don't really like kicking it with dudes that are in open marriages or open relationships, because I feel like it's never 100% mutual. And I'm not saying anything ever can be 100% mutual, but I feel like it's always somebody convincing a guy that they should be open marriage, open relationship, and then it's this weird like tension because they don't really want to be in one. That makes it weird for the people that they include or that they have sex with outside of their marriage. So I just think that's the vibe that I'm getting. I could be wrong. I don't see any responses from the OP, but that's just my thought. So another comment says, which I actually appreciate, "I don't know that gay meetup groups are all that sexy, really. Maybe you guys could go to some together at first to calm his worries." Okay, so I mean, I've been actually looking into like gay volleyball leagues to potentially join out here in DC, but they're like so advanced. But I want to join one because I think volleyball's fun, and I think it'd be a fun way to have athletic time and also meet gay guys. But I mean, when I'm looking at the options and the Instagrams and stuff, there's cuties in the league. So I feel like, and this is just me being me, I feel like there are cute social groups that include gay men that could then lead to someone being sexually involved. So I can't just sit here and be like, there's never any interest, or, I'm not going to sit here and play into that. But I do think a lot of gay men, when they start social groups like that, their intention is to really push the sex out of it. Like, I feel like even when you read some of the synopsis for like gay meetups and stuff, they'll say like, this is not a sexual group, this is a social group. They'll emphasize that so that that the foundation is like no sex is like the foundation. So I definitely think the intention for a lot of these things are to be more on the social side than the sex side, but we all know how gay men are. And I mean, we just know how people are. And when you have a shared interest with something with somebody else, it also kind of creates this like romantic sexual tension. So I'm not going to act naive to that. But I do think the foundation of a lot of these things are to be sexless. So the intentions aren't to be finding your sex partner. So I get the OP's thought process. And I do think the husband is overreacting a little bit in that sense, that it's just going to be this sex club thing. But I do agree that it would be great for them to go together so he can see the type of guys that are at these things, what the vibe is like. Once you're done bowling, what is the vibe? Are you guys just kiki and chatting? Are you talking about RuPaul? Or are y'all trying to make the next move on some freaky deaky stuff? You know what I'm saying? So I think actually going with him could be a great way to kind of experience it. You see it for yourself, there's no question. Maybe periodically he always goes with him. I think there's ways to kind of balance out the suspicions and just kind of make it a part of like a routine. Okay, maybe like once a month you come see, or maybe once every couple events, or you come to our bowling games, you come to the bowling league, you can support me, you get to see kind of what the vibe is, I think there's ways around it, and I agree with that commenter. Overall, my take is, I kind of already said it, but I really think that There must be some big trust issues going on. I do think y'all need to work on your actual relationship. I really feel like y'all need to really also discuss the rules and the dynamics that y'all really want in this open relationship, and really discuss if it's something that your husband really wants, because I don't understand how you going to social events that have gay men is such a issue when you guys are in an open situation. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you guys just haven't fleshed out the rules and expectations, like how many people he's okay with you having sex with, how close the connection can be, all these things. But that's why I will always say everybody needs to read Polysecure, that book. I will drop the link below. But everybody needs to read that book because it really breaks down the different dynamics within open relationships and being poly and ethical non-monogamy, and the conversations you should have, and what pops up with jealousy and just like, the decisions and stuff. So I really think people need to get more in tune, if you're going to be in an open relationship, open marriage, poly, all these things, to actually research and look at the emotional capacity you need to be able to do these things. People think it's easy having all these partners and doing all these things and being open, but you have to communicate more, you have to be honest more, you have to expect jealousy and insecurities to pop up and be prepared to have those conversations. It's work to be in these dynamic, non-traditional relationships. And I think overall, a lot of people underestimate that. Okay, so one more story, and this one's gonna be quick, but I think it's worth having a discussion about. Okay, so this is titled, Is Honesty Ruining Romance? And this is in the Ask Gay Bros subreddit. My boyfriend asked if I promised to be with him forever, and I said no. Am I the asshole? My boyfriend is very romantic, and yesterday asked me if I promised to be with him forever, never leave, and always love him. I really love him deeply and can't see myself with any other guy right now, but because of my past experiences, I tend to be rational when talking about the future. We never know what will happen or how we will change. Who knows if we won't change so much that we end up not being compatible anymore? So I told him that. What I told him was that what I can promise is to always be truthful to him. He seemed to understand, and we are good now. But later I wondered if I should have just said I promise instead of ruining a romantic moment. So am I an asshole? Okay, so here's the comments. You did fine. I'm also a very rational person and really take promises seriously, so I have done the same. Your boyfriend should by now know how you work and understand. At least that's my experience. You can always bring up the topic again and make it clear that you really love him and stuff. That can never hurt and should clean up your conscience. That has 16 upvotes. I think some people take it too seriously, but I feel like if you really love someone, you do say that sort of thing, even if you can't really know what the future will bring. 13 upvotes. Lastly, you probably did screw up the romantic moment, but it appeared to have hurt his feelings and were honest. Actually, upon second thought, I honestly think I'd rather be told someone will always be true to me instead of be with me forever. Feel somewhat more personal the other way. As if you're saying, I respect you enough to always tell you the truth because it's what you deserve. So maybe you didn't screw up the romantic moment, laugh my ass off. A matter of interpretation, I suppose. Anyways, not the asshole. So I loved all three of these comments. The last one I loved a lot because I agree. Maybe he did screw up a romantic moment in his partner's eyes originally, but when you tell someone, I'm always going to be true to you and be honest with you, I think that's even more romantic, and honestly more that you're my actual friend and supporter and lover, because a lot of people tell you what they want to hear just so they can get the conversation over, get it done with. And I think that kind of feeds into you just being like, we'll be together forever. That's not really how you feel. I do think there are things romance-wise that people say that aren't definite. Like, obviously, nobody technically is going to be with anybody forever. We're all going to die separately, unless you die tragically together. But for the most part, we all are going to exit this world same way we came, separately. So I think that's still being honest. And honestly, it showed the emotional intelligence because you kind of twisted it in the words that make sense for you, but still offer kind of what he was asking. So I actually think that was emotional intelligence, top tier. I think you're being rational with yourself. I also think you're being true to yourself. I think ultimately we always got to be true to ourselves. And I think that's because even though your conscience may feel bad about not pleasing him, you still please yourself. And I think that was the first right thing to do. And maybe, let him know in conversation, I'm not always going to be into the deep, cheesy romance things, but just know I do love you. I'm here for you, and I'm always going to be honest with you. And I think that's what matters most. I think, like you said, you can kind of clear it up later if you need to. But I actually think the way he handled it was very mature, showed a lot of emotional intelligence, and I feel like you reworked it back to you. Now, if you do this all the time, maybe to somebody that could be annoying. If you ruin every romantic moment, having to decipher and make it rational, that could be annoying. The cool thing about love and romance sometimes is it kind of is delusional. It kind of is head in the clouds. It kind of is butterflies and gumdrops sometimes. And I think sometimes that's why what makes it magical, because if you look at everything rational, you kind of lose the juice in the pop of everything. So I think that's something that maybe just that the OP can really keep an eye on, but I still think the way he handled it, I think that was really cute. Um, because I do agree with the second commenter that said, some people say that really seriously. That is something that you do say to people that when you're in love with. And I think that is, like, that kind of like I said, that fun, the magic of romance is kind of the things you say to just kind of keep it cute and fun and all the things. But I also just can always appreciate somebody being honest. I don't think he was an asshole. Let me know what you guys think. I guess I should have been saying that about all these, whether I think they're the asshole or not. But I guess I kind of gave like my synopsises. So let me know all these stories. If you think they were asshole or not the asshole, be sure to let me know in the comments. Try to limit the curse words in the comments. You can put NTA or TA for what your thoughts are. But also just let me know your thoughts. Would you have handled this situation this way? Do you have issues like this in your relationship? Do you think sometimes just not spelling out expectations and being truthful and being honest and just having the conversations are necessary to kind of have things go smoothly in relationships? I mean, do you feel like a lot of gay men have that superpower when it comes to that emotional intelligence to have these conversations? In my experience, not so much. And kind of all these had kind of weaved into it, like friends, outside people, open relationship, all those kind of metrics to it. And I feel like, honestly, I don't think a lot of men emotionally are set up to be in open relationships. I do think sexually we are more into that. I think we are more like less emotionally tied to somebody we have sex with, so it works in that way. But I think actually having the conversations, prefacing things, making sure that jealousy is covered, really handling each other with care, I do not think we're set up for that. And I think that it takes that extra step to really make sure that your relationship stays in a positive flow when you're doing all these like open relationship type of things. Okay, so with all that being said, ultimately, when you look at all these stories together, nobody's really right or wrong. I think there's ways to look at all these, through different perspectives, different experiences, also just kind of like what triggers people, what doesn't, what conversations have you had, the length of your relationship. But I think ultimately, making sure that boundaries are discussed, making sure that you're honest, making sure that you're always having that open communication, I think will solve a lot of these issues. And also just still being real to yourself. I think being real to yourself is the biggest thing. Also, not letting anybody limit who you really are. I do think we are our partner's partner. We are not the possession. We are not, you're not owned unless you're into that kind of thing. That's just not the reality of it. So also just making sure that you keep your voice alive and be true to yourself. I think ultimately, if you're honest, true to yourself, and you communicate, I think a lot of these type of issues can be avoided. But I'm always going to end with a little question here during our Reddit reads. And my question today is, are you dating for reassurance or are you dating with intention? Okay, so that wraps it up. Stay curious, stay honest, and read responsibly. I'll see you guys in the comments.